I'm going to start with the channel, my lunch break channel, and we'll just pick a video and see what they offer. So basically this my lunch break channel, they have 280,000 subscribers with 332 videos, which is a decent achievement. And then they describe themselves as, I recap my daily life on my lunch break, talk about historical interests, private investigator of history. What I noticed about the channel, every single upload is counted as a fundraiser. No, not everyone, but the last 3 weeks or so. The title of the video is Destroying Time. And apparently it has something to say when it comes to the Big Bang. In London, they tell us Big Ben was built, I keep saying Big Bang, don't I? Big Ben, apologies for my mispronunciation. So, introduction, they tell us Big Ben was built in 1859, yeah, and powered by ropes and heavy weight. But what if that's a lie? When engineers opened it up, they found hollow shafts, sealed tunnels, and missing blueprints that no one can explain. Okay. And then he asks, how could a 316-foot masterpiece with laser-perfect geometry exist in an age of horses and wooden wheels? I understand. What is the alternative proposition then? Who built it? That would be my initial question, but I don't want to kind of strawman the guy. Let's watch. Nice intro, I love it. Okay. 150. Thank you. Very cinematic, isn't it?
What powered Big Ben for decades in the 1800s? Was it heavyweights? Was it people underneath? Or was it something that the old world left behind?
Something the old world left behind. It kind of connects a little bit to the previous one we did the other day, doesn't it? This idea that there was something before that now it's been hidden, I suppose. Well, let's see.
Here we go. Big Ben, London, England. A 316-foot high clock tower that was altered in the mid-1900s.
The first thing I would like to say is the height is impressive, but not unique, to at least when it comes to this time. It's not something like no one else could reach those heights.
Changing the way that the clock worked. And of course, they call it an upgrade. But was it really an upgrade?
Let me rewatch this. So what did he say?
16-foot high clock tower that was altered in the mid-1900s.
Yeah.
Changing the way that the clock worked. And of course, they call it an upgrade. But was
Why would that be suspicious? Things get changed all the time. This has been around for a long time. It's normal that if we increase our mechanical knowledge and technology, we would update stuff. Stuff that gets maintained all the time. So we'll see why he thinks that's fishy.
Was it really an upgrade? Or did they need to hide something from all of us? Who was powering these massive clocks that did not belong in the horse and wagon era? Without electricity, how was the Big Ben clock operating continuously, day after day, with a civilization that lived in sheds? They rode around with wooden...
I'm sorry, a civilization that lived in sheds? No, that's not an apt description of this specific period of London. In fact, if anything, they were very mechanized. I mean, there are a lot of stuff. Weird that you would describe London in this period unless you're trying to build... not an attack on the person, but an attack on the argument. Your hook and your preview doesn't sound fair to me.
Wheels. And then decided they just needed a massive Gothic revival style clock tower, where according to the official records, this palace clock in London was a gravity-driven, double three-legged escapement system that used 3 sets of descending weights. This clock was supposedly working because of some ropes and wire cables.
Okay, well, saying ropes and wire cables does, as a choice, as a language choice of words, this is the simplified version of this. So if you say, you're telling me that this massive clock, so complex, operated with what? Ropes and wire cables, come on. Right, but if we read it in the proper way, this massive clock was operated through a gravity-driven double three-legged escapement system. Now it doesn't sound like, oh, come on, ropes and cables. This is clearly a simplification of this. And I don't know anything about this, and I have to imagine neither do you, unless you're an engineer specifically specialized on this period technology. It's a little unfair to just say, I was just a bunch of ropes and cables. It's impossible. Is it? If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.
Now, I'm not denying that this does work, but maybe
Okay.
in your grandma's house in a small clock. This thing is not a house clock. This is a 300+ foot tower that has undergone 5 destruction projects.
Destruction projects? What's a destruction project?
Oh, I mean, restoration projects.
Yeah, I mean, man, it sounds like you're looking for it. Like everything has to be, oh, they're hiding something for us. Yeah, I mean, if something is built that long ago, obviously 5, it's actually not that many. Have you seen all the restoration projects that occurred? Tower of Pisa? Restoration projects that happen all over. In Japan, they completely rebuild periodically all of the wooden-based shrines. Shinto shrines are continuously rebuilt. So, if anything, it's not weird that they are doing maintenance basically on these.
Since 1906. Why construct a palace clock and then change it 5 times?
Again, it could be that the elements corroded. There are a lot of explanations.
We're told that it was completed in 1859 as a masterpiece, where laser surveys in 2017 to 2022 confirmed that its vertical alignment deviates by only a few millimeters over 96 meters.
Right.
The precision is far beyond what the people of the 1800s were capable of.
Not necessarily. The calculation is beyond what people of the 19th century were capable of doing. We could look at this from a different perspective. Look at medieval tailors and look at medieval smiths. Medieval smiths were capable of manipulating the inside inner constituents of the alloys that they were producing. Did they have access to an analysis of the molecule or the molecules that are involved in those systems and manipulations? No, but they were still capable of doing it. Because when you have hundreds and hundreds of years of experience and trial and error, and in fact longer than that, because we've been working on iron and its derivatives all the way from the Iron Age. It's a very long time. And that builds generational experiential knowledge. And that experiential knowledge, while they may not be able to tell you exactly why, for instance, bacteria grow inside food and it spoils, and this is how you can avoid that, add the freaking salt, they can't pass a chemistry exam. So the explanation of it, the analysis is beyond that time. But ancient Romans used salt to prevent spoilage, even if they didn't understand what was actually happening at a microscopic level. These are very important distinctions to make, because otherwise you can make this statement about anything.
If only Abe Lincoln's mom had a few lasers just laying around in the 1800s. Again, you've got a supposed masterpiece. Why does it need 5 restoration projects? They just built it.
I'm sorry, 200 plus years is not they just built it. It does require maintenance. Goodness gracious, my house required maintenance a couple of times because of the roof, and the garage door broke the system and I had to have the guy come here. I'm not trying to be contrarian, but I'm just saying he mentioned reason and logic, right? Well, not reason, but he mentioned thinking logically. Well, thinking logically, this stuff does require that. Masterpiece can be a way to describe the amazing quality of the work done. But simply because something is a masterpiece, it doesn't mean, oh, but it's a masterpiece, so it shouldn't need to be touched up. It shouldn't need to be changed. Oh, well, the chain broke, but it's a masterpiece. We can't swap it. And while we are swapping it, I imagine we have much better materials now than we had before. And so, of course, we're going to change that. It's human ingenuity. That's what it is.
And then supposedly 40 years later, they start ripping it apart. After seeing all of these destruction projects that took place within the last 150 years, How are we supposed to look at the story and trust anything they're saying about its beginnings? They even tell us that they've completely dismantled it in 2017.
Yeah, but for total disassembly, and it is for modernization. That makes absolute sense. It's not like they're going to use the same mechanical features that they were using in the 19th century in 2022. Clearly have much more reliable tech right now. If anything, it would prove his point. Not prove it, but it would be better for his point if they didn't. So like if they're like, oh no, it's perfectly, but we don't need to change anything since freaking 18, whenever it was, then you could be like, man, how is it that this tech just never breaks and my TV broke after 2 years?
The entire frame was rebuilt in 19... Yet we're supposed to believe that it ran on ropes, especially when we see that there are no original blueprints of the clock mechanism's installation.
The fact that there are no blueprints, if it's true, I don't know, but let's, for the sake of argument, let's say he's right. There are no blueprints whatsoever. I have no reason to believe he's lying. If that's the case, that's anecdotal. Maybe there are no blueprints because they didn't need them anymore. They threw them away. They didn't preserve them. They got lost. They got burned. There are a lot of possible explanations that are a lot more plausible than they're hiding it. They are hiding. And also, what are they hiding? I hope that he actually presents what the alternative to the current explanation is.
You can find drawings of the tower, but even those are now in question. Because at the end of the day, they're just drawings. Anybody could have drawn those at any point. You cannot...
So you could do that with the blueprints too. Like at this point, if they give you a blueprint, you could say, well, yeah, but the blueprint, they wrote it this way and make it look like it's a make-believe. The reality is that the original blueprint would have been... So at the end of the day, even if blueprints were here, you would have questioned them.
Find in any historical records the blueprints for the installation itself, the gears, the weights, the ropes, the clock mechanism. None of it. There are no blueprints for this. Okay. The mainstream story of the gears, the weights, the ropes, and the clock mechanism, all of it. There are no historical records of the blueprints for this. The earliest technical diagrams for the escapement system are dated after the tower was already completed. And that shows us two options. That either the clock was placed into something that already existed and not a part of its original design, or the clock was already there.
The clock was already there.
Operating on a form of power they later covered up. A system that didn't need ropes or weights at all. And I believe that's exactly what happened.
Look, you can believe whatever you want and you are free to say it. But I think it's nonsense because you said critical thinking. I don't think you're using it at this point. You can believe it, but why are you going for the most outlandish explanation? They had a source of power the world has never seen. Why aren't they using it? Why are they hiding it? And what, for a clock? But then everything else they didn't have this. Why did the clock? Why is the clock the thing that stayed? And also, if the clock comes from an ancient civilization, because I want to know how far back he thinks this goes. Because if the clock has been there since who knows when, then we should see it in medieval drawings. We should see it, heck, in Paleolithic cave drawings at this point, if that's what we are discussing. So when did they make it, and how did they make it disappear from every single mention drawing? If it was that important, why didn't they just knock it down, destroy the whole thing at this point? Remove the clock, just make it into a regular tower. No one will ever know. No, they kept it like this so that you will see it, and now you're going to start questioning it.
So let's go even further. The supposed gravity-driven rope and weight system that we're all told about and supposed to believe, it only appears in written sources after 1860.
That's, again, very flimsy. So what?
There is no physical proof that the ropes were part of the original 1859 configuration.
This is fine. I am willing to accept this statement. There is also no physical proof, even more so than the clock with a electricity-driven powering system existed before. So if the lack of proof of the existence of ropes, of a rope mechanism, is what you use as a base to refuse to believe that this is the way it worked, then even more so should you refuse to believe the fact that the clock existed beforehand on the basis of lack of proof.
No sketches, no engravings, no early maintenance reports. Nobody has ever fully rebuilt.
Who makes engravings in the 19th century, by the way, to write down technical stuff on an engineering/architectural matter?
Or demonstrated the entire original Big Ben mechanism as it supposedly functioned in 1859. I believe that in 1859, they began changing this clock. They did not construct this clock. It's been here much longer than we're told.
I want to know much longer. Define much longer.
And this supposed double three-legged gravity escapement system. This system was patented in 1851 for smaller turret clocks. It was not patented for a massive 316-foot Gothic Revival clock tower. And this is just the beginning. Okay. Their rope excuse is just starting to unravel. Because guess what? We've found tunnels underneath this thing.
Okay, the presence of tunnels means nothing. It's fascinating. There are tunnels all over Paris, some of which are as ancient as Lutetia. Lutetia being the name that the ancient Romans gave to the original Celtic settlement of Parisi, from which the name Paris comes from, after they conquered it. They changed the name. They're like, nah, we're going to call it Lutetia now. They started digging vertical shafts and then subsequently underground horizontal shaft in order to gain the stone material that then they used to build the stone fortification of the area in the Roman style. And then in the Middle Ages, they expanded that and it basically became the labyrinth of Paris. The existence within such an ancient city as of London, Londinum, okay, hollow shafts and service tunnels does not prove it's not weird. It's in almost every major European city does have these tunnels. It's normal to have them.
And none of these tunnels were in Barry's original designs. Welcome to episode 150 of My Lunch Break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new,
appreciate.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon.
Thank you,
Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app.
Did he say thank you to Flat Earth? Oh, so he's a flat earther. I see.
The Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. I'll put the link right in the description. Okay. And you can use my referral code, MLB. If you click the
It does not surprise me that this guy is a flat earther too, though.
Tartaria button, you'll see the My Lunch Break playlist right here. The app is awesome. Thank you to Rebecca K.
Awesome.
David and Sherry Ferguson, Chuck Templeton, awesome. Joy Lee, Stephanie Nolan, the Burlesons, Charles Kruger, Dan Whittle, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Jacob Law, Jim Ridley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glasscock, BKTFnews.org, Ben Dryzen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And they supposedly put electricity in the Big Ben clock tower in 1906. Engineers reported that they encountered hollow cavities, misaligned shafts, and tunnels. None of this appeared on Charles Barry's 1850s blueprints.
Question. I thought you said blueprints weren't available, so I'm already getting contrasting information here. Doesn't the idea that there are misaligned shafts denote that then they didn't have this superior technology then? Because, I mean, if they have superior technology, then why are they misaligning the shafts? And if anything, it actually kind of tells me, okay, then it's good that they did the upgrades that they needed to do, doesn't it?
I believe Mr. Barry is being exposed. This guy was not the designer of this clock in the 1850s, and this was constructed by the old world. It was found, and the mainstream narrative is about to be destroyed. Because again, in 1956, there were even more reports of cavities and shafts being discovered. None of them should have existed.
No, wait. If you say you're about to destroy the mainstream narrative, I'm expecting something really, really powerful as an argument basis. What are you basing this on? None of them should exist. Based on what? What if the blueprints were just about the structure, not about the surrounding or underneath the structure? What if they were aware of it, but they decided not to write it down? That's also another possibility. Who says they were not supposed to exist? Are you familiar with European cities, my friend? Probably not.
Engineering or architectural conservation. This is textbook evidence of a repurposed foundation because its original purpose was for something entirely different.
I would like to know what he's reading. Textbook evidence, not in a scientific sense. Second, Who is he reading? What article is this? That would have been nice to know. He doesn't tell us what he's reading. So who is saying this is what I would like to know.
This clock was not powered by ropes. Something was removed in 1859. They created a fake character, and they pinned him to fake blueprints that didn't even show the entire structure. And I'm about to prove that this clock's original construction did not include weights and ropes. I believe they installed those later. And this is exactly why they needed so many restoration projects to reconstruct the overall structure. Because
you see, I'm about to prove, followed by I believe, is a mismatch. There's nothing wrong with stating what you believe. But I'm about to prove should be followed by this is the evidence, and then present evidence. You can tell us, I believe this, but that's not proof of anything.
Couldn't hold the weights. It wasn't built for it. Big Ben was not built to lift or hold heavy descending weights. I 100% believe that it was powered by something that weighed almost nothing. The structure itself exposes this. Every single restoration project since 1906 has centered around the exact same problem. Trying to figure out how to integrate a modern clock into the tower. They are still trying to figure it out in 2022. A flawless structure that has tunnels, geometric precision measured with today's lasers.
That's irrelevant. I've already explained it. Geometric precision measure, it's the measure part that he's getting confused with. I don't think he doesn't have as much experience with the ancient time. Because the simple fact that you can, again, medieval tailors, if you look at existing now, 15th and 16th century doublets that were hand sewn by professional medieval tailors, they seem machine made. Like the precision is insane. What's more believable? That they had machines powered by computers in the Middle Ages and we never knew and they don't want you to know, or that maybe people were really good at their craft when that's all they did and they lived in an environment where those skills could be passed along through generations. I choose the latter because to me makes more sense at a logical level.
Yet these people of the 1850s did all of this. They messed up the most important part, apparently, according to the mainstream narrative. How to hold the rope and weight system that makes the clock actually work. Not a chance. It was never meant to have weights inside of it. I believe that it ran on weightless, old world technology because we see that when engineers mapped Big Ben or the Elizabeth Tower during the 2017 to 2022 restoration project, they confirmed that its vertical load paths, they run straight down the center, totally even throughout. There's no dense reinforcement or heavy counterbalance cavities anywhere near the upper chambers to actually hold these massive weights. We're told that they can...
Here's the thing though, to hold the massive weights, he keeps repeating this like, come on, massive weights, no chance. How do you know? I mean, I could do the same play in reverse. I could say, well, of course, that's enormous, normal. It's very easy to hold the weights in such a structure. What the heck do I know? I haven't got a clue. So either we really, really look into the physics, mechanical properties, and we do a deep research on this, and then perhaps we won't actually find flaws into the idea, or we just make statements in the wind like this. Well, come on, big weights, how do you know? Again, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be allowed to say this, but he did say that he was going to prove it 100%, and I'm still waiting. All I'm hearing is I believe.
Constructed the structure with the intention of having these 5-ton iron and lead weights hanging on ropes and descending 15 to 20 meters down to keep the clock running, needing to rewind the ropes several times a week. 5-ton weights.
Yeah, needing to rewind the weight. It does sound a little inefficient, which makes it feel like exactly an 1850s sort of tech, which also makes sense then that they would modernize it.
Inside of a structure that didn't account for this, evenly distributed all the way around. And there's also a great bell that weighs 13.7 tons. There's also 4 quarter...
Yeah, hold on a minute. Have you ever been to Florence, my friend? Have you ever been to Milan? Because, I mean, in Italy, we've got a lot of big bells like that weigh an F-ton. There's nothing weird with that.
Hour chime bells that total another 8.1 tons. So in total, they've got over 75,000 pounds. Yet
Impressive.
there are no reinforced anchor cavities. And then the internal geometry supports resonance. Something you'd build for sound,
Okay.
light, or electromagnetic projection.
Drop the last one, but the other two, I can see professionals do that.
This structure was not built to house a rope and weight clock system, like we're all being told. I believe it was found. The old world technology was removed, and possibly the biggest giveaway to this point is that the Great Bell that we hear today, it is not the original. The first one supposedly cracked before it was ever installed in 1856. And the replacement bell, it cracked again 2 months after it was installed.
It almost sounds like they didn't have access to a old world super advanced technology then.
In September of 1859, they hit it with a hammer that was twice as heavy as it should have been. And the bell was declared unusable, meaning that we are all supposed to believe that they were able to construct this with geometric precision. A masterpiece, we are told, in
It is a masterpiece though, like however you want to look at it.
1859. A flawless design, precision, far beyond typical for the 1800s. But now we're being told that they can't figure out how hard to hit the bell. I believe this was 100% a destruction project because according to the mainstream, the Suns had been casting bells since the 1700s. Hundreds of installations across Britain.
Could be the size of it. That could be why they miscalculated.
If all of these people and the stories were true, they would have known exactly what kind of hammer to use. These guys were supposedly the most experienced bell makers in the world. And were supposedly making bells for decades.
Yeah.
They just accidentally hit this bell with a hammer that was more than double the size it should have been.
I wonder if that is the reason, because once again, we don't know what he's reading. So there are a lot of statements here. What if there was a mechanical failure? I mean, stuff fails. You could make the same argument. We could say, well, look, we've got Samsung, and they're supposed to be specialists in making monitors, and yet my monitor cracked when it was hit with twice the amount of electricity that it's supposed to, and yet these are the guys that really know how to... I mean, it just happens. It's not that strange. I'm sure it was annoying, and whoever the powers were, the king or queen, whatever, that commissioned this, I'm sure they didn't appreciate that, but it does happen.
Between bell experts deliberately cracking the Great Bell, between no surviving blueprints that show that it was constructed with ropes and weights
There's a lot of repetition. I want to know the aliens.
at the time, and I'm guessing they thought that nobody would ever put the pieces together because these cavities are now documented. If these cavities were there prior to the 1859
Unrelated.
conversion to the ropes and weights, is it possible that this is where the clock was being powered? And either it's since been removed or it's still there today. And now they're going to give us the excuse that they are just hollow spaces or airflow ducts for a clock, which makes zero sense.
Problem is he calls everything an excuse. What if they are airflow ducts? I mean, airflow ducts are absolutely found, for instance, in mine shafting for the ancient Greeks and Romans. So are we supposed to think, they tell us those are airflow, and sometimes there are airflow ducts underground, and then sometimes there are water flow ducts. But of course, right now, they have no water in them anymore because they removed the mechanisms that were used by the Romans and Greeks to divert water flows, underground water flows, because they only use those for the duration of the excavation. And then, of course, the air ducts, yeah, of course, they contain air. It's not like, what if now you tell me, what if those were actually containing electromagnetic parks made of titanium that were used to actually power an underground structure where the power plant was used to move spaceships? I mean, yeah, you can say anything, but what if they are air ducts? All right. Well, that was that. I wish he told me whether it was the reptilians or whether it was an actual situation whereby the old-time tech means that there was an ancient civilization, say, in the 10, 15,000 years ago that actually were building whatever, like spaceports and stuff like that, because these are very different things, or if it was the aliens. I'd be interested to know.